When we talk about weight loss, most people have been trained to immediately think in terms of numbers. Calories in, calories out. It sounds scientific, it feels logical, and it gives us the illusion of control. But the truth is, this old model of weight loss has failed millions of people because it reduces the complexity of the human body to the level of a math equation. You are not a calculator, you are a living, breathing, dynamic system. Your body is far more influenced by what you eat and how your body interprets that food than by the raw number of calories printed on a label. Think about it this way. If you eat 200 calories of candy versus 200 calories of almonds, your body does not treat them the same. The candy spikes your blood sugar, floods your system with insulin, and quickly drives you into hunger again. The almonds, on the other hand, provide protein, healthy fats, fiber, and minerals that stabilize your blood sugar and keep you satisfied for hours. Same calorie count, completely different effect. So if weight loss were truly just about numbers, both options would be equal. But your body is not blind to quality. It listens, it responds, and it adapts. This is why the first new rule of weight loss is to stop counting and start choosing. When you focus on quality over quantity, something remarkable happens. You begin to see food not as a threat to your waistline, but as a powerful ally in reshaping your health. Nutrient-dense foods, vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fats send signals to your body that enhance metabolism, lower inflammation, and regulate hormones. They don't just fill space in your stomach, they change the way your cells communicate. In contrast, empty calories from processed foods are like noise. They confuse your body's natural rhythm, keeping you in a state of craving and imbalance. Here's where the psychology comes in. For decades, people have been trained to live in fear of food. Every bite is seen as dangerous unless it's been calculated, logged, or justified. This creates a mentality of restriction, which almost always backfires. The human mind rebels against constant denial. But when you shift from a calorie-counting mindset to a choice-making mindset, you reclaim power. You're no longer trapped in the exhausting game of subtraction. Instead, you start asking a much deeper question. Is this food nourishing me? Or is it depleting me? That shift transforms eating from punishment into empowerment. You no longer obsess over whether you've hit 500 or 800 calories in a day. You ask whether you've fueled your body with food that supports energy, clarity, and healing. And this simple reframe has profound consequences. Because when you consistently choose nourishing foods, your body naturally finds balance. You stop fighting against it and you start working with it. On a philosophical level, this is about trust. For too long, we've been taught not to trust our own bodies. We've been told to follow charts, apps, and formulas. But your body carries wisdom that no calorie counter ever could. Hunger is not the enemy, it's information. Cravings are not weakness, they're signals, sometimes misdirected, sometimes revealing a deficiency. Satiety is not a mystery, it's a feedback system. When you learn to listen to these cues and when you feed your body with quality nutrition, the numbers take care of themselves. This doesn't mean that quantity is irrelevant. It means that quantity becomes easier to manage when quality is prioritized. A plate of leafy greens, beans, and grilled fish will naturally regulate appetite in a way a bag of chips never will. You don't need to count every calorie because your body already has an internal system to guide you toward balance. The problem arises only when low-quality foods hijack that system, leaving you stuck in cycles of overeating and guilt. And let's be honest about the emotional side of this. Food is not just fuel. It's culture, comfort, memory, and identity. If all you ever do is count, you strip food of its deeper meaning and create a relationship built on anxiety. But when you choose foods with care and awareness, eating becomes a form of self-respect. It's no longer about punishment or control. It's about healing, honoring, and listening. So when I say forget calories, I don't mean throw all structure away. I mean replace a broken system with a wiser one. Stop obsessing over the arithmetic of weight loss and start paying attention to the biology and psychology of nourishment. Your body is far more intelligent than you've been led to believe. When you give it the right signals, it responds with energy, balance, and resilience. And here's the closing truth I want you to sit with: every meal is an opportunity, not a threat. Every bite you take carries the power to move you closer to health or further from it. Forget the numbers for a moment and ask yourself, does this choice honor my body? Because when you make that the central question, you will discover that the path to weight loss is not a battle against food. It is a partnership with it. And that partnership begins the moment you decide to choose differently. If we truly want to change the way we think about weight loss, we have to move beyond the arithmetic and into the biology. Calories, while easy to measure, are not what ultimately determine whether the body stores fat, burns it, or balances it. Hormones do. Hormones are the silent conductors of your metabolism, orchestrating everything from hunger to fat storage, energy release to mood. And when they are in harmony, your body operates with efficiency. When they are out of balance, no amount of counting calories will correct the chaos. Let's take insulin, for example. It's one of the most powerful hormones in the body when it comes to weight. Insulin's job is to shuttle glucose from the bloodstream into your cells. That's essential for survival, but here's the catch. When insulin is constantly elevated, which happens when we eat lots of processed carbs and sugars, the body goes into storage mode. Fat is locked away, metabolism slows, and hunger intensifies. You can be eating fewer calories, but if insulin is chronically high, your body resists weight loss because it's being told to hoard, not to release. On the other side, when insulin levels stabilize through balanced eating, more fiber, protein, and healthy fats, the opposite occurs. The body gains permission to tap into stored fat for energy. This is not about numbers on a plate, it's about signals in your bloodstream. And this distinction is critical. It's why one person can eat the same number of calories as another yet gain weight, while the other loses it. The hormonal environment makes all the difference. Then consider cortisol, the stress hormone. When life feels overwhelming, when sleep is poor, when the body is in constant fight or flight mode, cortisol rises. And what does cortisol push the body to do? Hold on to fat, especially around the belly. It also drives cravings for quick energy, sugar, refined carbs, comfort foods, feeding back into the very cycle that keeps weight on. You can punish yourself with calorie restriction in that state, but if cortisol is steering the ship, your biology resists. And let's not forget leptin and ghrelin, the twin hormones of appetite regulation. Ghrelin is your hunger signal. Leptin tells your brain when you've had enough. In a healthy balance, these two create a natural rhythm of eating and satiety. But in today's food environment filled with hyper-processed, hyper-palatable foods, these signals get distorted. Leptin resistance develops, meaning your brain never gets the message that you're full. Ghrelin spikes unpredictably, driving late-night snacking. Again, it's not about numbers. It's about whether your hormones can be trusted to give you accurate information. This is why diets that focus only on calories almost always fail in the long term. They don't address the hormonal chaos. They ignore the fact that weight is not just about willpower, but about biochemistry. To make real, lasting change, we need to think in terms of hormone harmony, not calorie subtraction. And the good news is that the way we eat, sleep, move, and manage stress can profoundly reset these hormones. Philosophically, this is a shift from control to alignment. When you count calories, you're trying to force your body into submission. But when you balance hormones, you align with your body's natural intelligence. You stop fighting against biology and start working with it. It's a recognition that your body isn't broken or against you. It's simply responding to the inputs it's given. Give it the right signals and it responds with healing. Give it the wrong ones and it adapts in ways that make weight loss impossible. So how do we harness this in daily life? It's about choices that speak directly to your hormones. A protein-rich breakfast helps stabilize insulin and reduces cravings later in the day. Managing stress through breathing, meditation, or even a daily walk lowers cortisol and prevents emotional eating. Prioritizing sleep resets ghrelin and leptin, restoring your ability to feel true hunger and satiety. Adding fiber and whole foods keeps blood sugar steady, allowing insulin to stay quiet and fat burning to stay active. None of these require you to count a single calorie. They require awareness, not arithmetic. And there is a psychological freedom in this approach. When you understand that your hormones, not your discipline, are the real drivers, the shame and guilt that often surround weight loss begin to dissolve. You stop asking, what's wrong with me? And instead ask, what signals am I sending my body? That question empowers you to act differently, not from a place of punishment, but from a place of wisdom. The deeper philosophy here is trust. Trust that your body is designed to find balance when you support it properly. Trust that healing comes not from micromanaging every bite, but from creating conditions where hormones can do their work. Trust that weight loss is not about winning a numbers game, but about restoring harmony in the system you live in every day. And here's the powerful truth I want you to walk away with. Your body listens to everything you do. Every meal, every night of sleep, every moment of stress management, every step you take. It's not counting calories, it's counting signals. And when you start sending the right signals, your body answers back with balance, with energy, and with weight loss that lasts. When most people approach weight loss, their first instinct is restriction. They think in terms of deprivation, smaller portions, fewer choices, cutting back until food becomes an enemy rather than a source of nourishment. But restriction has a paradoxical effect. The more you tell yourself you can't have something, the more your brain fixates on it. The hunger intensifies, the cravings escalate, and eventually the willpower crumbles. That's why so many diets end not in success, but in a cycle of guilt and frustration. The truth is, the body was never designed to thrive on restriction. It was designed to thrive on abundance, but the right kind of abundance. Satiety, the feeling of being truly satisfied, is the key that unlocks this door. When you feel full in a deep cellular sense, the constant chatter about food quiets down. You stop obsessing over what you can't have because your body has what it needs. This is where nutrient density comes in. Foods that are rich in vitamins, minerals, fiber, and healthy fats don't just fill your stomach, they nourish every system in your body. They send signals to your brain that say, we're good. No need to keep searching. Contrast that with processed foods that are high in calories but low in nutrients. They light up your taste buds for a moment, but the body remains unsatisfied, always asking for more because the deeper needs weren't met. Think about it this way. When you eat a bag of chips, you're filling space, but you're not feeding your biology. Your body might be loaded with calories, yet it still feels starved for nutrients. That's why you can polish off an entire bag and still feel hungry. On the other hand, sit down to a meal of salmon, roasted vegetables, and quinoa, and you'll feel full after a reasonable portion. Not because you forced yourself to stop, but because your body received what it was looking for. The difference isn't willpower, it's chemistry. And here's where the psychological shift becomes powerful. When you move away from restriction and toward nourishment, food transforms from a battleground into a partnership. Instead of thinking, what do I need to cut out? You begin asking, what do I need to add in? That single change in perspective flips the script. You're no longer punishing yourself. You're empowering yourself. You're not shrinking your life to lose weight. You're expanding it by giving your body the tools it needs to function optimally. Philosophically, this shift also respects the wisdom of the body. We often treat hunger like a weakness, as if it's something to be suppressed or ignored. But hunger is a signal. It's the body's way of saying something is missing. When you respond with empty calories, you silence the signal temporarily without addressing the need. When you respond with nutrient-dense foods, you honor the message and provide real fulfillment. That's why a diet focused on satiety is not only more sustainable, but also more compassionate. You're not at war with yourself, you're listening to yourself. And satiety is not just about the absence of hunger. It's about the presence of energy, mental clarity, and emotional stability. When you eat nutrient-rich foods, your blood sugar stabilizes, which means fewer crashes, fewer mood swings, and fewer moments of desperation where you feel like food is controlling you. That stability carries into every part of life. You're able to focus better at work, handle stress more gracefully, and show up for the people you love with greater presence. In this way, eating for satiety isn't just about losing weight. It's about gaining control of your life. There's also a deeper lesson here about abundance versus scarcity. Restriction comes from a scarcity mindset, believing that the path to health is paved with less. But satiety and nutrient density come from an abundance mindset, believing that the path to health is paved with more of the right things. And that abundance creates a ripple effect. When you feel nourished and energized, you're more likely to engage in other positive behaviors, exercising, sleeping well, managing stress. You're not clawing your way through each day in a state of deprivation. You're thriving. So the new rule of weight loss is not to eat less. It's to eat better. Stop counting calories and start counting nutrients. Fill your plate with foods that have life in them. Colorful vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, whole grains, nuts, seeds. Let your meals be vibrant, satisfying, and rich in the elements your body actually craves. Because when you give your body abundance in the right form, it stops begging for more in the wrong form. And weight loss stops being a battle you fight and becomes a natural outcome of the balance you've restored. The closing thought I want to leave with you is simple yet profound restriction starves not only the body but also the spirit, while nourishment feeds both. Choose foods that satisfy deeply, not just briefly, and you'll discover that weight loss is no longer about resisting temptation, but about aligning with abundance. When you embrace satiety through nutrient density, you don't just lose weight, you gain freedom. When we talk about weight loss, most people immediately think of discipline. They imagine an inner battle where willpower must triumph over temptation, where every day is a test of strength and self-denial. And while discipline has its place, the truth is that no one can build their life around a constant tug of war with food. Willpower is like a muscle. It fatigues. It's strong in the morning, weaker by the evening, and it eventually runs out. That's why so many people start strong on a new diet, only to feel themselves unravel within days or weeks. The problem isn't that they're weak. The problem is that they're relying on the wrong tool. Lasting weight loss is not about momentary acts of resistance. It's about habits. Habits work because they operate below the level of conscious struggle. They don't require constant decision making. You don't have to negotiate with yourself every time you brush your teeth at night or put on your seatbelt in the car. Those actions are automatic, almost effortless, yet they shape your health and safety in profound ways. Imagine if your eating patterns, your activity, even the way you manage stress could work the same way, not as battles to win every day, but as rhythms that carry you forward naturally. The science backs this up. Studies in behavioral psychology show that our environment and routines shape our decisions far more than our raw willpower does. For instance, if you keep a bowl of fruit on the counter and tuck away the junk food in the back of the pantry, you'll reach for the fruit most of the time without even thinking about it. That's not discipline, it's design. You've set up your environment so the healthy choice is the easy choice. And when choices become easy, they become sustainable. Philosophically, this is a liberating shift. It means you don't have to see yourself as someone constantly fighting against cravings or weaknesses. Instead, you become someone who builds a system of living that naturally aligns with your goals. You stop trying to overpower your biology and start working with it. And when you do that, health stops being something you chase. It becomes something you live. This perspective also deepens our understanding of self-respect. So often, people approach weight loss with a punishing mindset. They say, I have to control myself. I have to force myself to be better. But habits grow stronger when they're rooted in self-compassion rather than self-criticism. When you design your lifestyle around nourishment, movement, and balance, you're not punishing your body. You're honoring it. You're saying, I care enough about myself to create a structure where I can thrive. And that sense of alignment is far more motivating than guilt ever could be. Take exercise as an example. Many people approach it with bursts of intensity, joining a gym, pushing hard for 2 weeks, then burning out. That's the willpower model. But when you build exercise into your lifestyle, it looks different. It could mean walking with a friend every morning, biking to work, or dancing with your children after dinner. These aren't battles you fight. They're joys you repeat. And over time, they accumulate into strength, endurance, and weight loss, not because you forced it, but because you wove it into the fabric of your life. The same is true with food. You don't need to obsessively track every calorie forever. Instead, you can build habits like starting your meals with vegetables, cooking at home more often, or drinking water before reaching for a snack. Each habit on its own seems small, but when stacked together, they create momentum. They shift your identity from someone trying to lose weight to someone who lives in a healthy way. And identity is powerful. Once you see yourself as a person who values and practices health, your actions follow naturally. There's also a deeper philosophical lesson here about freedom. Many people fear that building healthy habits will box them in, that it will make life rigid. But the opposite is true. Structure creates freedom. When you have habits that support your health, you no longer waste mental energy on endless decisions about what to eat or whether to move. You no longer swing between extremes of restriction and indulgence. You live in balance, and that balance frees you to focus on the bigger things in life: your work, your relationships, your purpose. So if you want lasting weight loss, don't build your foundation on willpower. Build it on habits. Shape your environment, your routines, your identity, so that the path to health becomes the path of least resistance. Stop asking yourself to fight every day and instead design a life where the fight is unnecessary. And here is the truth worth holding on to: willpower is fleeting, but habits endure. If you build your health on discipline alone, you'll exhaust yourself. But if you build your health on habits, you'll liberate yourself. Start small, stay consistent, and allow those rhythms to carry you. Because in the end, true transformation is not about force, it's about flow.